Meet George. George has already built a very successful, thriving business. The employees are happy and productive. The revenues are flowing. The clients are ecstatic and the community is dazzled. There's only one problem. George's business depends too much on him getting personally involved with every single aspect of running his business. And he loves every moment of it. But once in a while, when George has a moment to think in his busy day, he wonders what would happen to his business if he stopped showing up for a few weeks or for a few months. Would his business continue to grow and thrive, or would it fall apart and disappear? A little about George. George is a compassionate, conscientious, caring, and sometimes even a sensitive person at heart who cares deeply about people. He wants them to do well and succeed. George does not worry so much about exiting the business or retiring. He is not building his business to sell and retire. George is after something much, much bigger. He cares more about legacy, about making the world a better place, about leaving the world a better place. George has set out to build a sustainable business that grows even when he is gone. He wonders if there is a way to build a self-sustaining, self-perpetuating, scalable business on autopilot that does not depend on his involvement in the day-to-day minutiae of running his business and can continue to grow for a very long time to come. The first thing that George does to create a self-sustaining business on autopilot is invest in technology. He and his team automate the most important aspects of his business. They invest in software systems, workflow management, business process automation, customer relationship management, sales automation, marketing automation, you name it. The software systems fix many of the problems and make them more efficient, but they also bring problems of their own. The systems don't talk to each other, and the data is fragmented. So he has to hire someone to look after the systems. Some of his employees are not using the systems. Some of them are not using them properly. And the rest are working harder than ever to keep up with them. In the meantime, each technology brings with it its own way of doing things, its own value system, its own priorities, its own agenda, its own business philosophy. Now, George's business has a collection of many methods, processes, and systems, each with its own value system and a unique philosophy behind it. And there is no single source of truth. As George thinks about this a bit more, he realizes that the single source of truth cannot come from technology. The single source of truth must come from him. George begins to study leadership and management. He follows industry giants and the leaders he admires. He learns a lot about leadership, but there is little that he can apply directly to his business in a practical way. He reads books on business management, but no one book gives him all the answers he's looking for. There's no one cohesive business philosophy that satisfies him. So he continues to read more and more books. One day, George goes to Amazon and searches for more management books. He finds over 90,000 books. He does a quick calculation in his head. If he did nothing else but read one book every day, it would take him 256 years to finish reading them all. And of course, someone still has to run the business while he's reading those books. George's search continues. He joins a CEO support group. He signs up for business seminars and sends his employees to business training. He takes classes. He also has his employees take classes. He puts himself and his team through coaching programs and motivational events. He even gets his MBA and pays for some of his employees for their MBAs. George becomes a better manager and a better leader. His team is more efficient than it has ever been. But George and his team collect even more business philosophies, management theories, and systems and processes that don't have a unifying thread. As George applies what he has learned in his business, he realizes one more problem. He learns that in all the business philosophies and management theories he has come across, there is a common assumption. And the common assumption is that they all see people as a machine to squeeze the maximum productivity from. At their core, these business management philosophies see people as machine parts and the business as a giant machine. Even the words they use, productivity, efficiency, motivation, execution, assets, tasks, come from the industrial age of management when people were seen as machine parts and the business as a machine. It's almost as if they're trying to eliminate everything that makes us human so that we can all produce like robots. Even George's most favorite book on emotional intelligence does not see a human being as a human being, but someone whose intelligence should be superior to their emotions, like Data in Star Trek, his favorite show.
Webster's 24th Century Dictionary, 5th edition, defines an android as an automaton made to resemble a human being.
As George's team grows and his business thrives even more, he is working even harder, putting even more hours into his business. George realizes that his business depends on his personal contribution more than ever. He realizes that he has become the single point of failure in his business and the biggest bottleneck in the future success of his business. He wonders if there is a way that he can be the single source of truth and inspiration for his business, instead of being a single point of failure. If there is such a way, what way is that? And where does he start? George decides he has had enough. As much as he admires his mentors and his teachers, the authors and the experts, the academics and the motivational speakers, he decides that for his business, the best philosopher is him, and the best philosophy is his. He decides to be the best business philosopher his business has. So he gets to work and builds a philosophical foundation for his business that's truly his own. George follows a framework to build this philosophical foundation. The first thing he does is a clear-eyed view of his business. He does a comprehensive assessment, a health check of his business. What's working? What's not working? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? He does this assessment in 4 areas: functional organization, employee engagement, organizational alignment, and the autopilot activation. George comes up with some ideas and strategies to leverage their strengths and compensate for their weaknesses in these 4 areas. Based on this assessment, George organizes his business in a way that makes sense to him according to his own value system and in line with the priorities of his business. He organizes his business functions for the benefit of his team and their customers, vendors, and other stakeholders. He re-engages his team with more depth and more meaning. Before, the engagement from his team, as great as it was only intellectual and behavioral. Now they're also engaged with their emotions, their sense of identity, and their source of inspiration and wisdom that's as deep as their humanness. George aligns or realigns his people and their engagement to achieve what's important to him, his team, and his business. He clarifies their collective purpose and vision. He channels it using sound strategy, and he converts that purpose and vision into meaningful, directed execution towards that vision. Next, he reimagines the processes and systems in his business with his people as the core driving force. George and his team develop organizational habits that bring them consistent, predictable, high-quality results without his direct involvement in the day-to-day operations of running the business. George can now scale his business on autopilot while he focuses on high-level thinking. This allows George to activate a self-sustaining business on autopilot that grows and thrives without his personal involvement in the day-to-day operations of running the business. George has built a very successful, thriving business. Employees are happy and productive. Revenues are flowing, clients are ecstatic, and the community is dazzled. But he has also built a self-sustaining, self-perpetuating, scalable business on autopilot that does not depend on his involvement in the day-to-day operations of running his business. George is now free to do what he wants to do with his time. Hi, my name is Bhavesh Nayak with aware.com. That's AWAYRE.com, where compassionate presidents, CEOs, and owners of successful business organizations go to be the best business philosophers their business has. If you happen to be in a situation where your business organization depends on your involvement in the day-to-day minutiae of running its operations, I have some good news for you. On this channel, I bring you resources, frameworks, ideas, strategies, and tools to help you and the people in your organization build a self-sustaining, self-perpetuating, scalable business on autopilot that does not need for its leaders and managers to get involved in the day-to-day operations of running their business. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll get notified when I publish new videos. Thanks for watching.